relates the holding patterns in the breathing, relate to the holding patterns in the body and in your life. The deeper you breathe, the more you can let go. The more you let go, the more all the power and light can flow. Greatness is in that allowance of the unlimited power and light to flow through us freely. So it's about letting go of anything and everything that's ever dammed up or jammed up the flow.
Welcome back to the Everything's Energy Show. I'm your host, Roland, and today, if you've ever wondered about some of the origins of energy work, hands-on body work, if you've heard of something called a kahuna but actually haven't known what that means, well, we're going to talk about that and more because today with me I have Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. Thank you for being on the podcast. How are you?
It's great to be here, of course. I always enjoy time with you, Roland.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, we can talk about, the big joke is I have very big kahunas.
You might need to describe that a little bit more.
So we'll go down that rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll talk about EE system, but everyone's heard your story of the inception point of when you got the information to how the technology was created in the various iterations. But you're an incredibly accomplished professional beyond just the creation of the technology. You're a doctor of medicine, natural medicine specifically. You are a kahuna. I'd like to get into that. And you spent many years in Hawaii teaching these things to other people, in addition to being flown around the world as a very sought-after healer, correct?
That's right.
So I want to know where you'd like to start in this journey. Like, what was the compulsion? Because you had all of this physics exposure growing up. How did that connect into healing and natural medicine? Where was the interest?
They had the physics, had the nuclear physics, all that background, and growing up with Geiger counters and gyroscopes as toys. But it was also on the farm, holding the animals, working with the animals on the farm, holding my hands up around them, and then watching. I saw everything as a combination of engineering, physics, and the circuitry of how energy. It's all about energy. Everything is energy. And how that energy flows in like a circuitry. And I built circuit boards and all those things, and understanding coherence and impedance and those principles. It's all the same in the body. That's our light force, life force, energy. And so as a kid, I studied that and really studied a lot of the metaphysical principles as well growing up. And then went into the study of Ayurveda, studied Sanskrit for 8 years. Your best books on physics are the Vedas, which means knowledge. So that was written down over 5,000 years ago. But I started in chiropractic, reflexology, nutrition, acupressure, acupuncture. I studied all of these different principles and techniques with masters. I really found masters. And then so that started in 1971.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah. And lots of research, lots of study. And in the early 70s, I studied and was trained in radionics.
What's radionics?
Yeah, radionics is a psychotronic type device of broadcasting and a way of testing and broadcasting frequencies. Oh. Yeah, and so studied radionics. Very, very good teacher. And then the guidance was, no, you don't need to get a radionics machine. The human body is your ultimate radionic device. So I studied radionics, Rife frequencies, studied also photonics, and how photonics relate to the body. And pyramids, of course. And I did a lot of research with pyramids, understanding the standing column wave, vortex type energy of what a pyramid could do. And did a lot of experiments, a lot of research. In the 70s, I was actually running spas, and I ran a power management equipment company. Yeah.
Okay. You can see how those kind of come together. At least in terms of the end result, I see how that actually fits.
Yeah, and teaching nutrition and all the mechanics of the body and health and all the, because like I said, the chiropractic background and all that different pieces come together in the spa industry. But also I was running a power management equipment company, with yeah, it's hard to explain, but but it's how power is modulated to save money and efficiently used, efficiently directed. Again, clearing up the impedance and things that waste energy and create efficient use of energy for like large buildings and manufacturing plants and offices and big applications. So power management equipment. So I took power management equipment and I had my own spa in 1978, called Sam's Salon of Health. It was in Pennsylvania, of all places, in 1978. And I was the third spa in the country to actually have salt glows and herbal wraps and a juice bar, all organic juice bar, organic facials, acupressure, all these different modalities for healing. And I built my first scalar healing light chamber in 1978 in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, in my spa. And it was taking power management equipment and all this material from NASA and all this research that I'd done. And it was very precisely aligned. And the precision of the alignment, the precision of geometries is very, very key. And of course, I understood all that. I was top of my state in Latin, English, and math, and then also with the study of all the Vedic knowledge and all these other scientific principles. And I studied with some really, really amazing top secret scientists, just like my parents were top secret scientists. That's what I would study with. And then, so anyway, but I created this scalar healing light chamber, the first one in 1978. And Michael, Scalar's dad, is here. He's one of the ones that actually witnessed that first.
Did he stand behind a wall? He's like, okay, just let me know when it's on.
And it was really kind of like the world's first tanning booth. Yeah, because you could step into it. I had, all this material and special lights because I had studied John Ott's work.
Light shaping life.
Yes, John Ott's work was phenomenal on the importance of light and the hormones and vitamin D production and all these different things. And so we had miraculous results with that to the point where, we can't make any claims, of course. It's illegal to cure anything. So
nothing
far.
cures anything, but things
but the
just
power
resolve.
that made the body heals the body. It's back to pure straight chiropractic principle. The power that made the body heals the body. When the body has the right environment, the right energy, and when you understand that the DNA is biophotonic and all these different principles, you understand perfectly how it all works. So that was some of my first work with that, although I'm really a hands-on healer and really developed that, fine-tuned that further as we went on from there. And studied with some masters. Dr. Virgil Crane was one of the masters that he taught the Alphabiotic process.
I know of that. I've had someone do the Alphabiotic alignment on me before. It's a remarkable experience.
I was one of his very first students. I was in the very first class he ever taught, and that was in Dallas, Texas, in the Alphabiotic Center there with Dr. Virgil Crane. He is a true master. Brilliant stuff. And he went back also in my memories. I came in from the time I was born. I was talking about these mad Atlantean scientists and the abuse of power. And, came in with those memories. And he had been my dad in Atlantis at the end of Atlantis.
You guys had a shared past life memory. You understood it in this lifetime.
Yes, and we actually have the transcript of that because I was working out of the Alphabiotics Center, and I was recognized, very recognized for the past life regression work. And because I remembered my past life, so it was easy to be able to take people into deep meditation to have the memories of whatever is important to pull forward as knowledge. Whether you believe in past lives or not doesn't matter. There have been a lot of past lives on the planet, and it's all in our DNA. It's in the cell memory. So you want to call forth the wisdom of anything that's valuable to know, to help you understand your highest purpose in being here in this body, on this planet, this time, this life. how do we fulfill our highest mission and purpose with remembrance of who we are and all that we are? So I was very recognized as a past life regressionist and did past life regressions with his students to take them back to where they had shared the alignment process, what I call the higher self alignment process, where they had shared it in their past lives. And I had been high priestess of a healing temple in Atlantis, and one of the other students was actually being regressed. This was 1985 when I did that regression with her, with the memories and Dr. Virgil Crane personally transcribed that regression session with all the beautiful memories back to Atlantis, preparing people for the coming cataclysmic changes, because Atlantis is the most parallel time to where we are right now on the planet. You got the same mad Atlantean scientists doing the same thing of hijacking DNA.
Different characters, different characters, same mission.
The cloning, the different hybrids and all these different things, and so it's very parallel. And so this life is about how do we get it right? How do we create a cataclysm of consciousness rather than a cataclysm of the planet? But so it's been these parallel times, and that was a very parallel time, being high priestess in this healing temple in Atlantis, preparing people for the coming cataclysmic change. And Dr. Virgil Crane was my dad in that life, and so it was very interesting. And there was a lot of research. I'm really a researcher, and I love doing the research with taking all these people back through what could be called past life recall or memories, and getting the stories, fascinating stories of history. Or rather than his story, you got the real stories. And I was even, as the first person to ever do past life regression live on network television in Dallas, Texas. That was a fascinating thing.
That must have been an experience for the person on TV.
And I was so shy. Once burnt, twice shy. 500 years of Inquisition, being burned at the stake or something. Once burnt, twice shy.
It's in the epigenetic remembrance.
And fear of any evidence that it could incriminate me. And I was used to doing all these regression sessions and healing sessions with people with, going into the DNA cellular memory through the body. And the body is like a condensation of consciousness. It holds the memories. And that's why where healing is about remembrance of who we are, all that we're here for, and breathing that light through those parts of self that were disconnected from these old traumas and things that have been held in the tissues, the issues in the tissues, it could be called. So people have held on to things from a judgment of fear. In the Bible, it says over and over, fear not. Well, that's the only way anything ever got stuck in the body, was from a fear reaction pattern of the holding of the breath. Don't want to be here, don't want to deal with it, don't want to feel. That's a big one. God screwed up, something's wrong. Let me out of here. And what clears it is that breath. In the beginning, God breathed the breath of life into man, and that's how we reclaim those parts of ourselves. Because fear and God, if we're sons and daughters of God, fear and God can't share the same space. And so it's about reclaiming all those lost parts of self that have been stuck in the memory banks of these old traumas, and being able to release and let those parts go. Or love is acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. And appreciating, accepting, and allowing those parts of yourself. And as soon as you're present with those parts of self, it can all heal. For example, with regression work, you could take somebody back to, where did this issue really begin for you? And it might be this life, but it might be 10 lives ago. And it might be a memory from, it's genetic. We carry all the memories of this life, past lives, and genetically. So sometimes it's what's been passed.
Transgenerationally.
Generationally. It's, again, the genealogy. It's all in our genes. But ultimately, we have designer genes. So you need to get back to, all the way back to source. And that's our source code. And that's the divine code of these bodies and our beings. Because the core of the DNA is literally the light from the stars.
So can I ask you then, because what is so obvious to you may be entirely new to so many people hearing this. If someone hears this and they say, well, then if my issues are in my DNA, is that the idea of epigenetic expression and transcription of not errors in making proteins? Because people think genes just code for proteins. That your skin is your skin, your muscle is your muscle, your body remembers that blueprint. But would it be fair to say that if someone is manifesting an illness, a disease process in this life, do you see that as stored genetic information that has to be released and healed, and they have to go through the physical expression of that illness, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
There's a saying, you got to feel it to heal it.
Okay.
You can't let go of something you haven't let yourself have. But you can also do a whole gestalt of things, of anything and everything that's been connected to a particular location on the body or a particular issue. Let's let go of anything and everything that's ever felt like that. And what allows instantaneous release. So that's part of the Kahuna teachings.
Is this the body mapping that you're talking about right now?
Yeah, and I was actually very famous for what we called the body mapping. It's the map of how thoughts have been stored in the body.
Could we talk about that a little bit? This is fascinating to me.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. You might have, for example, guilt. Might be carried in the shoulder, a lot of it. A bunch of shouldy attitudes. Bulk of the word shoulder is should. Shouldy attitudes.
Wordplay. I love wordplay of all kinds.
No, because it all relates. Everything is connected, and the body hears every word you think or say and takes it all very personal. And how you work with the DNA actually is in those language codings, and that's a lot of the Russians' research. It's a fascinating study of what allows healing, and because healing means wholeness, means holiness, ultimately. And so it's about remembering the sacredness of the body, who we are, all that we're here for, the sacredness. But in that process means that letting go of all the desecration and violation that's been held on to. Because that's not part of our divine being. And so awareness is power, and then love is our superpower to make through things. And as soon as you're present with things with love, it can all clear. And present with all those parts of yourself with love. And anybody and everybody has ever been connected to those parts. So guilt, for example, that might, on the body map, the higher thought that allows that to heal and clear is gratitude.
So there's a counter-regulatory opposite for every negative association.
Right. And so there's a map of how thoughts have been stored in the body. It's from listening to thousands of bodies and tracking that and what allows instantaneous release, and the principles of instant healing as a kahuna. And of course, I was recognized as a kahuna almost 40 years ago now in Hawaii by the Hawaiian elders and by all the different lineages. And that's a whole study. But part of those principles of what allows instant healing is as soon as you're present with anything and everything with love, it all heals. It's the breath that brings you present. It's about breathing into those parts of self. And as you're letting go, if you recognize anything on the way out, fine. But you don't have to stop and sort and analyze each. Oh, this was from my lifetime 3 times ago. Yuck.
I noticed you said analyze, not analyze.
That's right.
I pick it up on the wordplay.
Yeah, analyzing our old shitty attitudes, right? where we've shit on ourselves, how God should or shouldn't be, we should or shouldn't be. Others, like you got a better idea than God or anybody. That's how you held on to ideas of how things should or shouldn't be. And like the spot in the shoulders of that holding pattern also relates to like the ileocecal valve.
And letting go.
In the colon and letting go of those old shitty attitudes and all the old stuff that's been held on to with old holding patterns. And again, that relates back to coherence and impedance. But everything is information in the body, and everything is energy, and it takes breath for energy to move. Yeah.
You mentioned breath a lot, and it's interesting. Since I've been learning from you, I've started to make my own awareness of how often I hold my breath involuntarily. And I've noticed that when I'm trying to do something with a lot of focus, I sometimes don't even know that I've momentarily stopped breathing. And from what I'm understanding is when you stop breathing, you start to fragment the nervous system and you engage these patterns of stress in the system. Is that a precipitating path that, anyone who's listening to this, would that be maybe one of the number one things you would suggest to them?
Absolutely.
Above all else.
It's the holding patterns in the breathing relate to the holding patterns in the body and in your life. The deeper you breathe, the more you can let go. The more you let go, the more all the power and light can flow. Greatness is in that allowance of the unlimited power and light to flow through us freely. So it's about letting go of anything and everything that's ever dammed up or jammed up the flow of God to us, through us, or as us.
As you said that and I took a breath out, I literally felt something wash down my whole body down through my legs. You're doing your kahuna thing right now on me, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, in the Bible, it goes, God breathed the breath of life into man. After that, we're in a free will zone. And it's up to us whether we're continually, constantly reconnecting with that source of all infinite power and light and love and wisdom or not. God's only a breath away ever. But for a kahuna, the most powerful word in the universe for a kahuna is considered aloha.
I thought that was just how you say hello in Hawaiian.
Yeah, it's hello, goodbye. It's until we meet again. We're always in oneness with the breath. That will always bring us back together. We're still in.
So that's the infinity wave that you talk about.
And the infinity wave of aloha through the heart, you're breathing all God's love and power and light. And it's this overwhelming love into the heart that flows out infinitely. And there's nothing to hold on to in that flow. And this is that infinity wave. It's a scalar wave. But this is the big secret from the mystery schools, really. From all the mystery schools, this is the big secret. It's all in the breath. And that's that breath of life. It's the breath of love, that breadth of love. And it's clearing those impedances, the holding patterns, in this circuitry of love that our body really is, this embodiment, which is such a gift to be able to be in these bodies on this planet on purpose and for all the learnings, because this is a free will zone planet. It's an amazing time. But this breath is that infinity wave. You can see that as a scalar wave. It's an infinity wave, that 0 point energy. And God lives in the space between breaths, right, is what's said. But that 0 point. But this movement also is what allows a spiraling into the double helix of the DNA to release anything that is not of core essence. The core of the DNA is literally the light from the stars, and this movement allows like cellular memory erase. Like you're wiping all the slates clean with the light. And the part that's really interesting is that in the letting go, you can have full assimilation of all the learnings and all the wisdom. And so you're calling forth all the wisdom of all that's been held in the DNA in this process of that letting go and release with the breath. And this is what's behind the energy enhancement system. This is what it's programmed to emulate, is this work with the body at the DNA level itself and cellularly, but also with the memories through all the organs, through all the parts of the body. So because everything wants to be in dynamic homeostasis, right? You can see this infinity wave as dynamic homeostasis. Everything wants to be in balance. In Hawaiian, we say everything wants to be pono, wants to be in alignment. This is that movement. And this is what was incorporated then with the sacred dance of life, what they called the dance of the DNA, or the dance of life. And how that is applied to the body is what allows this healing process, because it's letting go of anything that is not of core essence. Core of the DNA is literally pure science. It's the star seed. It's the stuff from the stars. And prime function of DNA, now this is the work by the biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp, prime function of DNA is storage of photons. Well, what are photons? Those are your quantums of light, but it's literally our light force energy, our light force, life force energy. Our chi is another name for it, our ki. Like in chiropractic, it's chi. But that's another name also for breath. So there's a whole map. These bodies are like a condensation of consciousness. And it's all about expanding our awareness and aligning more and more fully with our higher purpose. The spinal column is meant to be that standing column of light.
So when you were talking about the breath, I had this vision that came in. And when people think breath, they literally think just air moving in and out of the lungs. But I almost had this vision of this, as the breath moves in and out of the physical body, there's a corollary action happening almost interdimensionally that's moving in and out of things that we can't perceive with our five senses. And I think that's where people get caught up, because they think, well, I'll just breathe and I'll just oxygenate my body and I'll release carbon dioxide. But what you're saying is, to heal the body, you have to restore the breath. That breath is the scalar energy moving in and out beyond the third dimension of the body, retuning the DNA to allow the DNA to shed all the areas that what do you call it, impedance?
Yeah.
Is currently
got stuck or held on to. It's the
stuck.
holding patterns. And it only got held on to by the stoppage of breath.
Because it's not just about oxygen flow. It's about that in and out interdimensionally. Most people don't realize that even in the third dimension, nothing is solid. Everything is in vibration at every second, every millisecond fraction, whatever time continuum you look at. So nothing is permanently here. It's also permanently not here. So that's what you're talking about. It's this momentary winking in and out of reality that is happening in multiple dimensions at the same time. That's what's really being interacted with either your healing or when someone's spending time in a system.
Yeah, because we're really trans-dimensional. We're multidimensional, powerful, unlimited, infinite beings of light. It's like God experiencing forgetfulness of itself.
Yes. Yes.
I forgot who I am.
I also
and then you
love
take a deep breath. Oh, yeah, I remember who I am.
I'm good now.
And the more present we are, the more we're in omnipresence, and omnipresence is within us.
It is literally being in the now. But
Power of now. It's been called a lot of things. The I am presence. Yeah. The great I am.
The I and I am, right? It's not the ego self. It's that God consciousness in all of us. There's so many different directions we can go in, right? I'm buzzing from that conversation. So in healing, in the idea of healing, I personally believe that people have a very narrow perspective of healing. They think there's something wrong with them. They take a pill, they do a thing, and that thing heals them. What you're saying is based upon the interacting with the person, be it you as a hands-on healer or your technology, the person heals themselves through figuring out what they need to restore the coherence in the body so the body activates its own self-healing mechanisms. Is that a fair statement?
The power that made the body heals the body. How do you plug the body back into that cosmic light socket and cell by cell flip all the, it's binary. Things are either more light or less light. They're either holding darkness in those parts and forgetfulness in parts of self, or awareness and light, and expansion. So it's flipping the switches, literally cell by cell through the body. That's your epigenetics as well. Everything wants to be turned on. That's part of my double blonde studies, right? Because everything is life force. And the power that made the body heals the body. When you think about the healing power of the body is really the sexual energy of the body.
I've heard this before. That's the creative force that lives within all of us. It's the
energy that created all bodies.
True, yeah, fair.
Yeah, and so we've been taught to suppress, or it's better to be spiritual than sexual, or better to be spiritual than physical. Now, healing means wholeness and holiness, and being without that separation and division, and we don't need good out-of-body experience. We need good embodiment. We're here to walk the planet as the fully realized God and Goddess beings, Christed beings. Everything Christ said we're to do. Christ said everything he did and more we can do. You can move mountains with a mustard seed of faith. I'm in that bloodline of Martin Luther. So just
you have the Lutheran back thing in the background.
I read that Bible 6 times cover to cover by the time I was 12, and I studied it. I analyzed it, actually. I had every translation. So what did they translate into what, when, where, why, how? What'd they do? Wait a minute. And trying to really understand that. So that is my background. And of course, it's kind of in my bloodline. He led a Reformation. Well, we've been said to lead a revolution of healing. And it's just what we're here for, to share the awarenesses and the knowledge, because you want to use the energy, use all the energy to know whatever God wants you to know. And what if you could know whatever there is to know, the knowing which that allows all things to heal or clear as issues in your body, your life, your relationships, and for the whole world. Because ultimately all life is energy and it's all information. We're like an information highway, billions of bits of light codes. Yeah, that's connected multidimensionally. So much awareness. We're so much bigger than we've ever been told that we are. Yeah, we are the super beings.
Our physical selves are not at all the complete picture, are they?
Yeah. And the cells are like mini batteries. Huh? It's voltage. Cell membrane potential is referring to cell voltage.
And there's a certain voltage that a healthy cell needs, correct? In order to be able to sustain its healthful operation?
Right.
And what happens when the voltage drops?
Well, when the voltage drops, that's where you get your degenerative.
Another word play.
Yeah, degenerative disease. That's degeneration, literally. The shortening of telomeres, the breakdown, the breaking of the bonds, whether it's radiation, unzips the DNA, takes your energy, versus you want to put the DNA back to its original divine design. It's unified field effect. You put it back. But it's also that importance of the active hydrogen, because it's like alkaline batteries for that charge.
We're talking pH now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the active hydrogen, which is your ultimate antioxidant. You've got the oxygen, so it's not just the oxygenation. But if you rob a cell of oxygen, it'll turn cancerous.
Because it becomes anaerobic and it becomes more acidified.
Right. Exactly. And that's, of course, the work of Otto Warburg made that very, very clear. But all you have to do is deprive a cell of oxygen and it can turn carcinogenic. So you've got your ultimate oxygen therapy with the EE system because of how it creates, when I go back to the research, of a cold nuclear fusion type event creates hydrobifurcation. So the other part is the active hydrogen, which is your ultimate antioxidant. But it's also the ultimate fuel for the cells. That's what fuels your mitochondria, the ATP production, etc. And this is pulling the body from, your work, pulling the body from your reaction patterns to being able to respond and have the energy to respond to all the stressors appropriately, versus getting stuck in a reaction pattern, what I call like a neurological rut of reruns of bad D movies of how it reacts.
Just spinning your wheels, so to speak, but no forward momentum.
Right. Now you have the energy when it's perfectly balanced to be able to respond to all the stressors appropriately. But that hydrogen is a real key to that. And at the DNA level, it's the hydrogen, besides alkalinizing the body, that's your power of hydrogen potential, that's your pH. But it's also what fuels your mitochondria, that's the energy production in the body. And it's also what heals the covalent hydrogen bonds in the DNA itself.
I'm trying to remember if covalent, the description of covalent was sharing a bond, correct?
Right.
Two elements sharing a bond.
Yes.
So you're basically saying those can break if the inner environment or the dysregulation of the hydrogen potential in that cell is compromised.
Right. And one of the biggest things we're dealing with, is we're all dealing with extreme radiation poisoning on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I know from my mother visioning plutonium in the lab the whole time I know radiation literally from the inside out.
Do you glow in the dark? Have you checked?
So it's been, that's been an interesting thing in itself. So, she was working on the bomb and I came in going, how do we heal all of it? And
seems a little dichotomous, but I could see why one was a catalyst for the other.
Well, and I came in, I was still pissed about those mad Atlantean scientists. So my mother was working on the bomb. My dad was doing stealth bombers. And I come in going, how do we heal all this? Well, you have to know and understand all the science of all that to know how to create the counterpoint and how to override it all with the higher power and the power of love. Because that's really the only thing that'll ever work or ever save us is the healing power of love.
What I find so interesting about your journey, Sandra, is most people who start off on the scientific side of things stay in that world. I call it a very left brain existence, right? And in some cases, I think the classic sciences will look down on metaphysics, energy work, and healing, but it sounds like for you to figure out the left and the right brain balance, the coherence and understanding all of these things, you had to go both left and the right side and merge them back together, or at least find the commonality. Is that a fair way of explaining it?
And I had, the brain power, my brain power would get stuck in left brain. I could mental anything, but I was also extremely intuitive and extremely spiritual. But it was kind of a dichotomy. But I have more than 30 years of research, 40 years of research on the importance of right-left brain synchronization, which metaphysically or in the temples would be called the alchemical sacred marriage, that divine union
merging
within
of
us.
Shiva and Shakti, I believe it's.
Shiva, Shakti.
Yeah.
There's been many terms for it, but it's that divine union within us of both the God and goddess energies. I mean, with the rewrite of the Bible, everything feminine was translated into masculine terms. So, that was part of the patriarchal kind of takeover and control through guilt and fear versus what happened to Christ's real teachings. And what happened now, there's more and more people stepping up to, and really an awareness coming right now, more and more than ever before this year, about Christ's counterpoint and the Mary Magdalene's teachings.
The feminine reciprocal.
And there's a whole interplay there of let's create the balance and bring things back together. It's really within us. And because we don't want to go from, patriarchy wasn't it. Well, matriarchy wasn't it either.
Well, they're both in balance by nature.
We just want to be in love.
So how does
it's not that the male or the female is better than each other.
You can't have one without the other, though. Life would cease to exist.
And right-left brain domination is domination issues. Constant compensation for imbalance is struggle. And really those parts of ourself, and that plays out as struggle in relationships and domination issues. But when you balance within, that's that divine union where it's an implosion of energy that radiates out. It's a release of charge, so to speak.
Have you ever seen the moment that a sperm cell fertilizes an egg?
Exactly.
What happens?
The spark of life.
Yeah.
That light force energy. God force, light force. It's that miracle. And we are that cell by cell. We are that from our core of our DNA, that light force. And when I would work with the body, it's like fireworks going off everywhere as everything lights up. And that's what I designed and created the E system to emulate that work. Because essentially the power that made the body heals the body. How do you activate that light within the core of the DNA? and create like kind of cellular enlightenment, we needed accelerated, we needed a power assist because we have so much technology being weaponized against us and the hijacking of the DNA. So we wanted to create something that puts the DNA back into its original divine matrix, original divine design. Designer genes. I like to talk about designer genes. We have designer genes.
We're not talking Calvin Klein here. So is the only way for someone to step into their true self, because we hear this a lot in the spiritual community, you have to be your true self. You have to step into who you really are. Is your definition of that healing the DNA in a person?
It's all healing is from inside out.
Okay.
It's not outside in.
So that's the first thing people don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the cells vibrate and resonate with the power of truth. But there's been a lot of suppression of us holding back our truth, not speaking truth. A lot of people lost their head over that. So there's issues with people.
Past life trauma back, yep. Beheaded, the guillotines.
The guillotines, all that stuff. I mean, people literally lost their heads over. And so they've held back this life with throat issues. The throat really, the neck is the illusion of separation between head and heart, thinking versus feeling, mind versus body, or the illusion of separation of self versus source. That's all symbolized by this neck. Yeah. So I used to say necks are us, but it's like how to reconnect all. So that everything is connected. So there's no more of this, cutting off of our expression. The jaw relates also to the pelvis in the body. So this is again body mapping and how we've held back from our expression. 500 years of Inquisition. 500 years of killing women as witches or people that had. It wasn't just that. It was a lot of different in the name of God. Layered in this fear of persecution, fear of prosecution that's been used in the name of God under the church for this whole enslavement through the Vatican and using Christ's teachings.
As a weapon against us.
And really, we should be Christ-iamus. Instead of Christians per se, we are the sons. He said, you're all the sons and daughters of God. So we have access to the infinite. Forgot the access codes.
Most of us did. I think some are remembering them right now, especially.
And that's what kahuna means. It means a keeper or knower of the secrets and mysteries of life. And the secrets have been held in the sacrum. That's your seat of power.
Sacral
seat
chakra.
of power. Seat of power. And that's where the whole beginning of the Fibonacci sequence of how the cells replicate, that cellular replication pattern comes from that first union of the sperm and the egg. But it starts with that seat of power, the sacrum. And that's where the secrets have been held.
Is that why as a fertilized egg is dividing at some point, it looks perfectly like a flower of life or a seed of life, a flower of life, and then eventually like it was an octahedron, dodecahedron. The sacred geometry is obvious to us, but no one really sees it because they're distracted by the little round cells looking like tadpoles or frogs that is multiplying.
Yeah, but it's all very precise geometry
it's a blueprint.
And science. It's the secret science. Huna also means the secret science.
I'm so glad you're answering this now because I wanted to ask you about the kahuna, but we were talking about such amazing things that I think it slipped in my mind, so you brought it back perfectly. You did say something that I have committed to memory I wanted to come back to. You said that head, mind, heart, body, there's a separation or a severing.
The illusion of separation.
The illusion of separation.
Illusion, delusion.
So would you agree that we, especially in the Western world, are far too much in the head and not enough in the heart?
Have been. Yeah, but everybody is in such deep shift, and everybody learning in their own ways. It's, you're grateful for all the learning and whatever it's taken for you to do the homework you've been doing, There's a key phrase for higher self. This is what we found with doing regression work with so many people. A key phrase for higher self is whatever it takes for you to learn what you promised to learn or promised to do coming in, whatever it takes.
Is that like a pre-agreed upon thing that the higher self knows, but the lower self is like, I'm not going to tell you this or else he wouldn't agree to this? Is that why people experience like catastrophic life events and severe traumas and various other things?
Well, there's many, many reasons, past life. You could call it karma, but there's so many different aspects of what we're here to experience, to express, to learn. But it's also the biblical principle. Ask and you shall receive. The clearer the question, the clearer the answer. It was like a commandment in there, be still and know. For us, it was shut up and listen. That's more the English version.
More succinct too, it's more direct.
So do you listen to God? Do you listen to your highest guidance? Do you listen to Jesus? Do you listen to the angels? Do you listen when it's a still small voice? Do you wait till it's yelling at you, screaming at you? Do you wait for the 2x4, the steamroller, the Mack truck? Eventually you learn to listen
the wood
sooner.
So why do you...
It's all about whatever it takes for you to get the message and learn what you promised to learn this life. And you'll keep coming back till you get it right, probably. But
okay.
But it's time for the Great Awakening. It's time for this ascension process on this planet. And, there are those, it's this, the second coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ascension process going on this planet, a new heaven, a new earth through us. We're in the time of revelations, the great revealing. Apocalypse also means the great revealing. So we want an apocalypse without doing the whole cataclysm.
Yeah.
We want accelerated evolution now. And there are those that are checking off because they're not ready for the deep, deep shift that this planet is going through frequency-wise, vibration-wise. And with the shift, it's only our light that will carry us, really, because the density of old judgments and holding patterns won't let you make that shift. It's shift or get off the planet.
Yeah.
But God is so loving, the beings can continue with their evolutionary process.
And when you say shift or get off the planet, you're literally saying leaving the body because their frequency is too discordant to where the planet is going, the realm is going. Because the earth is a conscious being. People don't think about this.
This planet is going into light. The planetary contract, so to speak, is up. The Luciferic contract is up, where Lucifer has had his time. And we're in the shift of the ages. It's prophesied in every culture around the world. Yeah, it's a fascinating time. But it's been the free will zone. And, so we had choice. And without that focus of negativity and that focus of darkness, there'd be no choice. And it's the darkness that allows you to appreciate the light and to lighten up and quit taking things so damn serious, because that's how we dam the flow.
Yeah. That's how you stop breathing. I learned that today.
And holding on, the most destructive emotion in the body is anger.
It is anger. I was going to ask you, because before we were talking about fear or things being stuck in places, and I know that there's a reductionist approach where they'll say, oh, well, the base chakra is with fear, the second chakra is with guilt. But what you're saying is that's too idealistic. It's too simplistic. You can have any emotion be stuck anywhere in the body. But you're saying
it does relate to those levels of consciousness. Yes, levels of experience. It's like the colors, how the colors relate to the different chakras and the different organs and how things have been held. So anger typically is held more hot liver. Right?
And it's usually, that would be a second, third chakra problem, but it relates to that area, but it's not exclusively there. You can have anger stuck in your neck or your hand, by what you're saying.
That's right. The body is held on, how it's held on to things. And you want to bring light to those parts of yourself, bring love, bring truth. It's truth that sets us free. And so that cells vibrate and resonate with the power of truth. But like guilt is behind a lot of cancers, for example. And cancer, if we go back to the story of the voltage, cancer can't exist in an alkaline system, in an oxygenated system, or in a high energy system.
You know what's interesting about that, what you just said? Cancer is not able to be manifested in cardiac cells. People don't really understand why. The heart is not the brain. The heart is the most electrically active organ in the entire body. There is no heart cancer.
And there is a torsion field. That torsion field, that tube torus, that's your scalar vortex. Like why we use the medallions. Yeah, because that really supports the heart in staying strong, no matter what we're exposed to.
It's shaped like a red blood cell.
Exactly.
By accident.
It's the red blood cell too, which are really meant to be immortal. You know, so it's very interesting how it's all this dance of life, and it's all interrelated and intertwined, and with realization. But generally, it takes time. It takes, we're in deep shift, and it's layers of undoing. The toxicity that's been held in the tissues, the toxicity behind the physical toxicity of, your glyphosates and all these, carcinogens and heavy metals, the aluminum and all these things that are creating inflammation in the body.
In addition to the mental toxins and the emotional toxins.
Behind the physical toxins.
Yeah.
And the radiation exposures, the EMF, the ELF, the radiation, the microwave, all the toxicity that we've been exposed to, and then how those created parasitic environments because you changed the bioterrain.
Yes.
But people have been so addicted to trying to get the sweetness from outside of themselves, addicted to sugar, versus knowing the sweetness of life from within. And feed the body, not the cancer. But food is meant to nourish. And if it's not nourishing, so it's like, what is the original divine design of food? That's what we need to go back to. It didn't look like fast food.
No, I mean, people don't, I've heard this explained before, and I love this model where the vegetation on the planet concentrates the sun's light in sugar. We reverse engineer that, and we release the light that's in the food, hopefully to release the light that's in our being to the world around us. It's a beautifully interconnected, it's kind of like
So the greens, your herb of life, the herb of green should be as meat. That's in the Bible, the herb of green. So the greens are very much related to your red blood cells and to carrying the oxygen, the photosynthesis from the sun, carrying the sun's energy, because the sun is our vital life force here on this planet as well. The vitamin D from being sun exposure, or the way it affects the hormones, is all very, very interconnected, very important. But we're also that transducers for that energy within the mitochondria. We're solar-powered cells.
Yeah. We do nuclear fission and fusion inside of us. I think per cubic centimeter, we emit more energy than the surface of the sun does because of the mitochondrial density. We just don't see it as photonic emission.
But it's really cold fusion.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, in the cells. There's a scientist, a Greek scientist I worked with, Panos Pappas, that proved that what occurs in the cells is cold fusion. But we are beings of light. We're bodies of light, and we require that light. Fear of light isn't going to help anybody.
And it baffles me that people don't see these things and at least internally start to say, should I think about this differently? Because, what's the old
it's all
saying?
For our protection.
Yeah, exactly. Just to keep us safe.
All for our protection.
The sun is dangerous. Every animal and every plant on this planet is proof of that, right? They don't like to be in the sun ever. My dogs go out, and the minute they've been inside in the morning, they go out, they just collapse on the ground and just get enough sun until they meter themselves. They don't overdo it, but that's their instinct. Go in the sun, look in the direction of the sun, lie there, charge up, and then back inside. It's amazing.
Yeah, this dimming the sun isn't a good idea.
No.
Are you kidding?
Messing with the planet, the weather,
in any way. That's the thing
with
our technology, too. It's full spectrum. It's spanning a full range of frequencies, but it's also polychromatic polychromatic light therapy.
So that's multiple light frequencies, because monochromatic is a single.
You've got red light, all the different, all the different. We've got a full spectrum of ideal optimal energy that the body then relates to and can use for healing itself. The body goes, oh, it's okay. I can use this. It works.
You mean I'm allowed to heal? Well, it's so fitting because the name of this podcast is Everything's Energy. My definition of teaching people about health is everything is energy. And to me, optimal health is energy plus adaptability. And that's really what the technology is doing for people, isn't it? It's filling up their well of adaptability, because you said the body should be able to appropriately respond to the stresses that it's put under and get back to a place of healing.
And relax into a new place of peace and healing. But, all life is energy, and it takes breath for energy to move. And that's that breath of life, and that's that aloha, which is considered the most powerful word for a kahuna. And in that lineage, of the kahunas, I was recognized, that in the fulfillment of their prophecies at the time of crisis on the planet, it's aloha that heals the world. And that's what our technology is programmed with. Breathing light, breathing love, more light, more love with every breath, expanding all of our capacities for love as we're being aligned by the light, with the light, as the light, highest powers of love. So that's the basic principles. However, it's in alignment with true best and highest. We want people to live their greatest life, their greatest love, no more excuses.
And the excuses from everything that we've talked about today in many ways are from the person, from themselves, and they don't even know that it's there. We don't need to know why people are getting sick anymore. I think we're understanding that pretty well. But what you're explaining is all the blockages that people have in the way of them stopping themselves from being able to get well again.
The yeah buts.
Yeah buts.
I get off the yeah buts and access the power rather than just sitting on their access. Allow that power to rise up within the spine. The spinal column, that's your Kundalini, but that's that life force energy to rise up, that power rise up so we can be like pillars in the temple of God. When we stand in our power, our light, and our love, God wins. And that's where we're at. In
your sentiments, your insights, intuition, feelings about what's coming for us as a collective, do you have a very positive feeling about the outcome? Because I know a lot of people are afraid, they're hopeful, but there are people that are afraid. What would you say to people who are really experiencing a lot of tumultuous experience of life right now? If God is all there is, what would you be afraid of? If we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, what's the problem? What would you ever be afraid of? It's a matter of remembering that we have access to all that, rather than just sitting on our access. We are that access point of really stepping into that remembrance of ourselves as true sons and daughters of God, and being able to access our superpowers, which is love, really. Awareness is our power, but love is our superpower. But there's also this thing of, if you can do regression, you can do progression. You could call this remote viewing. But, ask to be shown whatever there is for you to know, the knowing which allows all things to be clear for you. I've seen the future. I know the future. Now, the great mystery, however, is how do we get there from here? That's the fun part, though. If you knew exactly, it'd be a little boring. It's like, oh, my God, how do we get there? I see what's coming. I know what's coming. When you know. It's a cellular knowing, Yeah, you're not validating that against anyone or anything else. No, it's an inner knowing. You know. But the great mystery is still, how do we get there from here? WTF. We're in very deep shift on this planet. Say that again. So if I boil that down to a soundbite, you're saying drop the fear. Yeah. There's no need for it.
No. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear and God cannot share the same space.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on what you want, not what you don't want, because whatever you focus on comes back multiplied. Whatever you share, whatever you send out comes back multiplied. Whatever you're afraid of, you've got to create for yourself to get over it.
Mm.
So focus on, we want the new heaven and new earth. What does that look like? Mm. We already know what hell on earth.
We've gone through it.
They've been masters at creating that. We've been masters. Victim has been done so creatively on this planet. We don't need more good victims.
We don't need any victims, actually.
We don't need more fancy victims. Alien invasions or fancy victims.
So besides telling people to have no fear, let's say they're in their process of shift. What's some general sound advice? Obviously, if they have the ability, the means, and the opportunity, spend some time in the system. Spend hours in the system. Don't expect to go in there once. And
yeah,
I mean, sure, that may happen with some people, but having spent a lot of time in the system myself in various capacities, there is a physical thing happening, but I feel the emotional shift in there. I feel the mental aspect, the downregulation of the sympathetic part of the nervous system, the shifting of the brain waves into a more theta, delta, or deep regenerative state. So
ideal, optimal meditational states where everything can heal. Ideal, optimal meditational states, that's that right, left brain synchronization. From that state also that we know from our government remote viewers that's the state from which they could remote view as well.
Which everyone could
expanded
do if they
awareness.
Wanted to.
Yeah, and it's not out of body, it's expanded awareness. You know, you can ask to be shown whatever is to be shown that supports you in your higher purpose. No point getting something that doesn't support you in your higher purpose.
And that's really what's happening in the system for everyone. I've had this thought, it's someone's individual experience and expression of consciousness is theirs entirely as an experience. So if they're going in, whereas someone may have had an experience and they share that with a friend, they shouldn't load any predeterministic expectations because they get what they need from the experience given all of the variables of the interdimensional energy that they're being essentially interacting with.
Like give the body time to heal. It's not like if you released all of your toxins at once, it'd kill you on the way out. That's part of the infinite innate intelligence of the body. Healing's like peeling an onion. We have layers of stuff. When the body has the charge, though, then it can discharge, whether it's the physical toxins. That's where the salt bath is very important, but that also supports the release of the emotional. Behind that, the discharge of the emotional toxicity.
Because salt cleans on multiple levels.
Salt. Yeah, this is an old secret from the mystery schools that's been lost, but it's the third kidneys. It's the largest organ of elimination. We called it purification rites, all that kind of stuff. The baths were very critical. It helps work with the energy through the body, the potassium-sodium pump. The salt pulls the acidity out of the tissues, and you want to support that. I love Jesus's work that was translated from the scrolls found in Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Had Jesus's original teachings in health, the Essene Gospel of Peace, beautiful book, and it talks about how he'd have them in the river with a gourd of river water into the hinder parts, casting out the demons of the parasites.
Yep.
These were the purification rites or healing practices. And don't put anything in that doesn't make a healthy body. The body's a temple for the soul, so don't violate or desecrate. Quit paying to poison yourself. You want to stop the desecration of the sacred vessel of the spirit. Yeah. And that's a lot of what his teachings were about. The Essene Gospel Peace, amazing, amazing book.
So you're saying let go of the fear. Trust the process, spend some time in the system, and allow the body time to heal.
Time to heal. And each time is cumulative. That's what you talked about, too. One of the aspects of Scalar is reorganization to higher levels of function. So every time you come in, the body reorganizes and goes to another level of function where you can access different dimensionalities once you get through the lower garbage.
Yeah. Because most people are stuck in the bottom 3 chakras, they say, on this planet, right? And that's why they operate from fear, shame, and guilt.
Yeah. And the control through guilt and fear. And that's why it's always for our protection, how they've sold us all kinds of lies.
I've often said the last few years were an IQ test, and people can interpret that however they want. So would there be anything else that your years of teaching, healing, wisdom, besides obviously everything with the letting go of fear, the time in the system, the cleansing the body with the salt, the not poisoning the body with the food, what else can you share with people that will help them through this time frame if they've decided to stay rather than vaporize and get off because they're wanting to be part of the ride, right?
Yeah. Shift to get off the planet. Yeah. This planet's going into light. The question is how many of her people are going with her? So it's a glorious future that we have here, and golden age of enlightenment. I mean, you see it, like in the Vedic. It talks about the age of Kali Yuga being the age of chaos and confusion, and we've been there, done that, good enough, long enough. Now we're in that shift to the golden age, what they call the Satya. And it's in every lineage, every tradition. So I like to remind people, we are here. You wouldn't be hearing me. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have your highest vision, your mission, if you weren't here to fulfill it. Let's get her done.
That's in the Bible, right? Get her done.
Let's get her done. It's mission oriented, but we've waited a long time for this time. It's a glorious time so give thanks for this divine opportunity we have on this planet to be the light, to share the light, and share that with others and be the light for others in this time of transition and keeping the love, letting go of everything else.
So it sounds like you're saying be present and enjoy the experience.
And we're here in the fulfillment of all the prayers, all the promises, and all the prophecies of all who've gone before us. Our entire genealogy, all the way back to source.
It's amazing. Sandra, thank you so much today for sharing all of your wisdom, all of these insights. This conversation has been incredible. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope everyone else. It was a lot. It was a lot of stuff to follow, but a lot of these things I find are really about a resonance. It's not necessarily something that's of the mind that has to make logical sense, because these things that are coming through you, it sounds like they're beyond thought. Beyond thought is feeling. Beyond feeling is knowing, at least as I know it.
It's knowingness. Yeah. The infinite innate intelligence of who we really are. It's cellular knowing, but it's the knowingness of that oneness, of creation, creator being in love with us, through us. I mean, there's a great piece in the Sanskrit, achintya beta beta tattva. It means simultaneously one and different. We are all such unique aspects and expressions of God's love, like diamonds that shine brightly. Clear off some of the facets.
Polish them up, good to go.
So do the inner homework. It's always do your inner healing.
What a fantastic final message to leave everyone with. I think we're going to have to do this again at some point, because that was incredible. And I know we're just scratching the surface of all the things that you've done, learned, have taught, know. So I want to thank you on behalf of everyone
I just pray that it's useful for people. And one last reminder is, no matter what happens, keep breathing. God's only a breath away ever.
It's the one takeaway.
Breathe light, breathe love, and there's nothing to hold on to in that flow. Joy is in letting go and trusting. Be fully supported in love, with love, and as love. For all of our being here now, thank you for letting me share some of this with everybody.
Those who need to hear it will find it and they'll resonate with it. And I think this will be a very powerful message. So thank you for being here as well. We'll see you next time on the Everything's Energy Show. Thank you, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha.